This is Dr Louise Nilson. Welcome to another Memory Alpha documentary. The Protostar, a leap forward into the next generation of exploration, was stolen by the Pakleds, an unstable species which have caused trouble for Starfleet in recent years. Today we explore this hard-to-believe event in what will surely be the long legacy of the USS Protostar.
My name is Lieutenant William Davis, currently on temporary assignment aboard the USS Resolute. I'm actually stationed on Horizon, the first deep space explorer since the end of the Dominion War. We returned from our 3-year mission a few months ago, and Starfleet has seen fit to assign me to the Resolute for this mission. I served here years ago. It's surreal to be back.
Since the Horizon's return to Federation space, its crew have found themselves in the middle of several noteworthy situations. Lieutenant Anna Keeley piloted the first USS Protostar test flight, and Ensign Laura Reed, along with Lieutenant Davis, interacted with interlopers from an alternate universe.
The Resolute was visiting Orland Station, a Daystrom off-world storage facility. Captain Rydeck had us beam several new Tukon artifacts aboard. The science team were eager. Oh, wow, that's an understatement. Apparently, one of the races Horizon discovered may have been Tukon descendants. So, there I was, lending my expertise to the mission.
The Resolute, a Centaur-class refit as a mid-sized vessel, is tasked with a variety of smaller missions, although Captain Rydeck is intent to leave a big legacy for the Resolute during her time in command.
I was going over old mission reports from Horizon, refresh my memory. When I fell, Resolute jumped to warp. She was no Horizon, but she was fast for her size. Maximum warp, I felt the vibrations in the hull. Something was wrong. I headed to the bridge and got the strangest briefing. The Pakleds, a race that used to be somewhat of a joke. Then, while Horizon was away, they moved out into the galaxy and made their presence felt with violence.
In 2380, the Pakleds attacked the Solvang and the Cerritos. While the Solvang did not survive, the timely arrival of the Titan pushed back the Pakleds' assault. Similar engagements began across the quadrant. Federation vessels were being targeted. Their aim was to steal technology.
This started as Horizon was on its way out of Federation space. We hoped for the best, but had a feeling the Pakleds, whatever their plan was, would lead to more problems. Hearing the Titan took the lead in Starfleet response made sense. Captain Riker finally had his own ship after the Enterprise D and E. I'm sure he was looking to make his mark. The Pakled problem was just the first thing to fit the bill.
The USS Titan, under the command of Captain William T. Riker, was the spearhead in Starfleet's first year in dealing with the Pakleds. Dozens of engagements, dozens of ships saved.
So, it was the Pakleds. They had intercepted the Protostar on one of its final shakedowns, stress testing the dual warp cores in a series of high warp maneuvers. Apparently it was going well. They could have kept Captain Chakotay's original schedule for the launch, but this incident obviously pushed them back.
It is believed that the Protostar's first test flight, under the command of Captain Joan Keller, was detected by a Pakled ship. The ship's advanced technology was instantly sought after by the Pakled Emperor.
The proto drive is so cutting edge, it actually may be too advanced. Well, not quite. Maybe I'm a little sore that it puts Horizon's enhanced warp drive to shame. Not to shame, they do radically different things, but when we left, we were the most advanced ship in the realms of propulsion. When we got back, there was the proto drive and slipstream. How quick technology evolves. The Pakleds had captured the Protostar and her crew. Captain Chakotay was no stranger to being locked in a cell, but the Pakleds can be unpredictable. We were the nearest ship in range, so Starfleet sent us.
Starfleet determined immediate action was required. The Resolute was the nearest ship for the desired response time. Other ships were contacted and arrived after the Resolute engaged the Pakleds. That, in this instance, was part of the problem.
The uncertainty reminded me of a mission on Horizon. I was in a shuttle with Lieutenant Keeley. We were trying to rescue Ensign Reed from a gravimetric anomaly. Her shuttle was sinking and fast. At that point, Anna and Laura were friends. I've been friends with them both the whole time, but they varied on how much they actually liked each other. It's complicated. That day, Anna was in a risk-it-all-for-a-friend kind of mood. We knew the basics of what might happen, but the variables were changing. Unpredictable once you arrived. When you get yourself mentally prepared for one thing, then a nacelle explodes and everything has to change in a split second. I had the same feeling with this mission. I knew Pakleds, they were tricky. We had to be ready to adapt.
The Resolute pushed its warp drive in order to find the Protostar. If the Pakleds somehow, miraculously, were able to equip their clump ships with proto-drives, no one in the galaxy would be safe.
The other issue with the Pakled ships was, well, while the clump ship class was a mishmash of other ship parts, one which they faithfully recreated across their entire armada, each ship had different internal hardware, and more importantly, weapons. The Titan had come into contact with ships that the Resolute would be more than a match for, and others we would have a real problem with. The Resolute was a science ship, not built for combat.
The clump ship is a mid-level warship. It is hard to explain the class beyond the old Earth phrase kit bash. While for the most part, the clump ships avoid direct contact with mid to high level Starfleet ships, at their height they were a real problem for civilian ships or older Starfleet ships.
My name is Captain Mukherjee. I can attest to the Pakled ship's strength firsthand. We had been warned, of course, and I had read the briefings on the loss of the Solving. But as an Intrepid class, I thought we could fare better.
Captain Mukherjee was on a simple resupply mission to Cygnus 4 when he fell afoul of a Pakled trap.
A Pakled clump ship? Red alert! Return fire! They came out of nowhere. Their weapons more powerful than anything the Cerritos reported. Target their weapon grid.
Which one? The ship is a mess of systems.
Any of them. Torpedoes, maximum yield, fire! If you had told me a few years ago I'd be fighting for my life against a Pakled ship and almost lose, I'd think you had had too much Romulan ale. At least my encounter proved to Starfleet what Captain Riker had said. The Pakleds were a real threat to the Federation.
This is Captain Marlanius Ran. Stand down, Pakled ship. Repeat, stand down!
Encounters like this were common for a time, and the unpredictable nature led to even more trepidation with any dealings with the Pakleds.
We caught up with the clump ship. The Protocore had such a unique power signature, she was easy to find, if you know what to look for. The ship was travelling warp 8.7 with the Protostar held in its claws. Luckily, they left the ship intact. That was in no way guaranteed. I remember telling Anna about the mission. She said to me, "They better not have hurt my girl." I guess her test flight aboard left her with a sweet spot for the Protostar. I was on the bridge at the time. Captain Rydek ordered a torpedo spread. The target, Pakled warp themselves. They were stuck now, and they had to talk. But talking to Pakleds is harder than it needs to be.
The Pakleds, while a spacefaring race, have troubles in communication. The Pakled captain, Brumthep, ordered the Resolute's surrender. Captain Rydek had no plans to do so.
We scanned their ship. Its armaments were on the more powerful side of what we expected. With skill and a lot of luck, the Resolute could prevail, but the risk was just too high. Captain Rydek started negotiations. They had the Protostar, and they did realise its potential. And they had a crew capable of operating it, with Chakotay officers in the brig. What did we have? Well, what do you offer a Pakled? Instead, we asked, what can Starfleet do for them? They asked for a fight with the Enterprise and Captain Janeway. Did it make sense? No, but the Enterprise was in range, so we held them and asked for help. It all seemed to be going well until the first set of cavalry arrived and messed everything up.
Chancellor Martok was returning to Kronos from a summit on Khitomer. He had wanted to be discreet about his means of transport, a bird of prey as opposed to his usual flagship, the Negvar.
He'd come to help. shows the bond the Federation has with the Klingon Empire. Except the Pakleds charged their weapons. The Bird of Prey charged theirs. The Pakleds overloaded their weapons, and the Klingons, they fired theirs. The thing about the Pakleds, they're really unpredictable and can genuinely achieve tactical masterstrokes by accident. You may not believe it, but they used their tractor beam and fired the Protostar at the Bird of Prey. Both ships had shields up, but the kinetic force disabled the Chancellor's ship. We were speechless.
This incident pushed back the Protostar's launch by several weeks due to the needed repairs.
Back to negotiations then. But the Pakleds were angry. Really angry. They insisted we drop shields and give up the Resolute. It was getting tense. The captain muted the comms, worked out a weak point, and had tactical lock torpedoes. I could tell we were close to opening fire. The whole situation reminded me of something we studied at the Academy. Captain Foley of the USS Foley, yeah, there's a story about the name. He was negotiating with Tholians at Sigtan 6. It was a chess game. Tholians have a short fuse, and the smallest thing could lead to an attack. Or worse, getting caught in their web. Captain Foley talked his way into a treaty, and his words have always spoken to me.
I knew the importance for the Quadrant, both in resources and as a stepping stone to better relations with the Tholians. There were moments it could have gotten out of hand, but my crew, Harriman, Galloway, everyone was so certain peace could be achieved. We made it happen. A proud day, although not my last encounter with the Tholian Assembly.
Treaties are the backbone of the Federation, and officers such as Captain Foley must be well skilled in the art of diplomacy, as well as be strategic in their approach to negotiations.
It was the Helms officer, Lieutenant Handar, who suggested trade. Give the Pakleds something which should appeal to them, but leave us and the Bird of Prey at low risk if things went sideways. A T9 energy converter. That particular model had a copper composite outer casing, very shiny. We hope the Pakleds liked shiny. Lieutenant Commander Chovak deemed the part not worth the time to fix, but Handar apparently took it from Cargo A3 and wanted to use parts to help build his custom shuttle. We offered the Pakleds the converter in exchange for Captain Chakotay and his crew. They agreed, except the captain had to stay behind, help them operate the Protostar. The problem, only partially fixed, we transferred the converter, and things de-escalated until, 15 minutes later, things got even more crazy. Reinforcements arrived, and once again, just made things worse.
The USS Challenger, under the temporary command of Geordie LaForge, responded to Starfleet's call for assistance. Captain LaForge had personal experience with the Pakleds, so felt he was best suited to intervene.
A Galaxy class, and an Enterprise legend. You'd think that would be enough, but the Pakleds opened a channel to all ships. To fight this new threat, they were activating their Thalaron cannon. Yeah, the same technology that killed the entire Roman Senate. The Pakleds charged their emitters and the crew scrambled to find a defense, but I read the reports and knew if it was a Thalaron-based weapon, that was it for us.
Thalaron is a type of radiation with biogenic properties, able to consume organic matter at a subatomic level. The Enterprise E was the first ship to face the threat of a Thalaron-based weapon in the field.
The energy readings were spiking. Tactical called out. 3, 2, 1. The Pakleds fired. But it wasn't a Thalaron weapon. That is not what we thought was going to happen. All the other ships cloaked, but Resolute was unaffected. Apparently something to do with the warp engines? I still don't know.
The Pakleds had activated a Romulan phase cloak tied into their deflector array. The cloak, however, was faulty. Their deflector was also faulty. The wave, on coming in contact with the Klingon's stable cloaking generator, triggered its activation, but at the same phased wavelength. The fleet cloaked, but it was unstable, and based on the Resolute's estimates, the effect of this cloak was deadly, unless the Resolute stepped in.
I have a history with phased cloaks. Well, my family does. This is all public record now, thanks to Captain Picard, but my father served on the Pegasus. He was one of the survivors. Part of his personal repentance for what happened was insisting that we all knew why. Why the phased cloak was a mistake, why Captain Preston was in the wrong. I knew my way around the concept of a phased cloak, so I spoke up. Told Captain Rydeck I could help. She turned to me and said, "Get to work." So I did.
The USS Pegasus, under the command of Captain Eric Pressman, was the testbed for a Starfleet phased cloak, in a direct violation of the Treaty of Algernon. It is still unknown exactly how such tests were allowed to happen. Multiple investigations have taken place, but the culprits to this violation remain unknown, except Admiral Pressman, who was court-martialed once the events of the Pegasus came to light.
My ideas were theoretical. Starfleet never worked on any kind of phased cloak again, but the Romulans clearly had. This was their technology, but most cloaks are based on their designs, so my time on Defiant, that cloak, I could connect the dots. It was going to be a deflector pulse, as it often is. A pulse to force a reversion back to normal phase. There was a ticking clock to the irreversible damage to the Challenger, Pakled and Klingon crews. So I felt the pressure. It reminded me of the time Lieutenant Dominic Quinn and I had to fight a Romulan warship in the middle of an asteroid field. The Resolute's crew taken by a Dyson moon. We survived that, barely. At least this time we had a crew of talented officers do the work that last time was just left to me and Dom.
The Resolute, while being an average ship in class and abilities, has often found itself in the middle of elaborate situations, ones in which the captain has had to make difficult decisions, even when there are multiple bad options.
I love Horizon, but there's always something special about the Resolute. There have actually been a few horror novels based on her adventures made. The one about the Tacon body snatchers is particularly good, but I personally enjoyed the one just released after that. Such resurgence of popularity of those kinds of horror novels, it's amazing. We got a pulse modulated, made sure to have each science lab run a separate simulation. They all showed an acceptable margin of error. It was going to work. The problem was how the Pakleds were going to react. It was going to bring them back into phase first, due to them being the origination point of the surge. We lined up the Resolute, charged the deflector, then activated the beam. They were waiting for us to make a move. Once they came back into phase, they started loading their torpedo tubes. Our deflector pulse needed so much energy, we had to divert power from shields to fire. We had to rescue Challenger, but we were about to be attacked. Captain Rydeck had a hard choice. Luckily, reinforcements arrived for a third time, and this time, things actually worked out.
The Enterprise E, under the command of Captain Worf, had reached the coordinates in record speed. With Starfleet's flagship now protecting the fleet, the Pakleds thought again and deactivated their weapons.
The Enterprise E. What a ship. Well, I mean, we'd done most of the hard work, but their help got us past the finish line. The Challenger and Bird of Prey were rescued, and the Pakleds, well, I think Captain Worf would have preferred a battle, but Chancellor Martok didn't want anything more to do with them. Quickest way, let them leave. Before they departed, Captain Worf had a powerful message for the Pakled captain. Some might call it a threat. Some may call it Klingon bravado. Captain Chakotay was beamed right to Ease Bridge, and the Pakleds left. The Protostar and her crew were safe and sound. Or maybe a few scratches, but mission successful.
The Pakleds may have been stopped, but an investigation is ongoing as to how exactly their ships got past several Starfleet sensor arrays and was able to successfully take the Protostar's crew unaware.
Having been a single ship alone, exploring, to now be a fleet. The Enterprise, Challenger, Protostar and Resolute. Oh, and Chancellor Martok. Apparently he insisted on catching up with Captain Worf. What an amazing fleet of ships to be part of. We all headed to Earth, get the Protostar checked out. It's a little bit of a detour for Resolute, but Captain Rydeck wanted to use the excuse to spend some time with Captain Worf. I hadn't seen much of Earth since we returned. It was great to be back. They'd actually forgotten about the new Earth space dock. I was still so used to the original. USS Gallant was in orbit. Nice coincidence. It was my first time seeing my friend, Lieutenant Quinn, since Horizon left. We served on the Resolute together. I invited him to the mess hall, see the old stomping grounds. Turns out Dom had his own run-ins with the Pakleds.
Lieutenant Dominic Quinn here, currently serving aboard the USS Gallant. Yes, we faced the Pakleds. Annoying is the word I'd use, although I know for many older ships they can be a real threat. From all reports, they've been getting more bold in recent months, although it does surprise me they got so deep into Federation space as to nab the Protostar. If I were to guess, the Pakleds, as they've occasionally done, may be taking orders from another faction. My contact with the Orion Syndicate, my friend, Lieutenant Musiker, has heard a few names spoken, but their validity is impossible to tell at this time. Leon Rel, Jellic, Strauss Vec, the Vindicator. Starfleet Intelligence is looking into all of them, but at present all we have is just the Pakleds' assertion that it was a mistake and won't happen again. An annoying and obviously incorrect statement. It may only be a few ships, but clump ships are unpredictable, as the situation with Lieutenant Davis shows. Good for him for helping to save the day. Attaboy, Will. Good to know you've learned something since our days in the Resolute, huh? Diplomacy is at Starfleet's core, but with the numerous renewed attacks, the Pakled Emperor has been told to get a better handle on their fleet. This must stop, or Starfleet will act to stop them.
The Pakleds. Will they listen to sense? It's impossible to say. It was a strange few days. The pure science of why I was there turned into a daring rescue mission. You never know where a Starfleet mission will take you. My friend Lieutenant Reed says, next time I'm assigned something like that, I should get her assigned too. She seems to miss out on some of the fun assignments. The fun stories to tell in the mess hall. She's back on Horizon writing a paper on her new techniques for calculating temporal mathematical coordinates. She's using Captain Spock's original notes on it from when they went back to save Earth from the Well probe. She thinks she may have cracked something. I don't understand what, and I think she's wasting her time, but I know that time travel missions you have to be prepared for. Those are some of the the largest missions anyone in Starfleet has ever done. Sorry, really off topic. Protostar saved, back in dry dock. Admiral Janeway came to supervise personally, brought Commander Torres. She helped design the Protostar, so we thought it needed a proper once-over before they'd even consider giving a green light for the official launch. I'll be honest, reading up about the Proto Drive, I'm excited. The potential feels, almost unmatched by anything in recent memory. The Protostar could go out there, really out there, back to the Delta Quadrant, or make negotiations with the Dominion even easier. So much potential. I hope the ship is repaired in good time and gets a launch and make history. Until then, Horizon will do its bit. I'm sure we can help in other ways. Make our own legacy. Maybe even save the Federation again. Who knows?
The Protostar has indeed received a green light from the engineering team. Her crew is finalising preparations and will launch any day now. The Protostar, the Proto-Drive, the future of exploration, the means to unite distant planets, form unions, and let the Federation help those who need it in far-off lands. We wish you luck, Protostar. for this adventure and many more to come. This has been a Memory Alpha documentary, and we would like to thank Lieutenant Davis for sharing his story and Lieutenant Quinn for adding their experience. This is Dr Louise Nilson, signing off.